Are taken off. People aren't getting through. You've heard the same complaints. And it seems to be if they're conservative, if they're Republicans, if they're in a certain group, there's discrimination and big discrimination. I see it absolutely on Twitter and Facebook, which I have also, and others I see.
All right, that comment generated the most reaction and coverage in the press, and this is the guy who started it, Daily Caller White House correspondent Saagar Enjeti. I hope I pronounced that right. It's very good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
So the president seemed to hint at maybe we got to do something about this. The impression on Wall Street was maybe the government does something. What was your take on it?
Yeah, so I specifically asked the president about changing the way that social media companies are treated under something called the Communications and Decency Act. And that has something called Section 230. Now, social media companies and the internet are not liable for the content that is posted on their platforms. This goes to what I asked the president about with respect to Congressman Devin Nunes's lawsuit, his $100 million or $250 million lawsuit against Twitter. Now, Senator Josh Hawley and a few other Republicans have proposed changing that exemption for social media companies to make them liable for that content. It would be a huge change to the way that these companies operate in terms of compliance with that act, and it would really change the way that these platforms work. A lot of conservatives say that a change to the act would force them to stop bias against conservatives and hold them accountable for the policies that they have in place to police content on their websites.
You know, maybe you can answer this, and I didn't understand the riff that CNN's Jim Acosta had about your questioning, and he was citing the wrong question. What was going on there?
Yeah, Jim Acosta appeared to just get upset that I had the opportunity to ask a couple of questions to President Bolsonaro and to President Trump. He implied that I had asked President Trump about socialism. I actually asked President Bolsonaro about how he would react if a socialist were to replace President Trump. His reply was he thought that Donald Trump would win re-election. Broadly, there is sometimes an upset people with the mainstream press whenever I get to ask a question to the president, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, and it generated a good deal of news because obviously he was walking Bolsonaro a fine line. You have to respect the will of the American people regardless, but was his own president. There was nothing soft about it.
Yeah, I guess he's upset that I didn't ask them why they're both authoritarian, or I didn't ask a question on the Mueller report so we could all hear the same answer that we've all heard probably 10,000 times. But I thought that they generated quite a bit of news on court packing and on social media companies. As you said, it got quite a bit of attention on Wall Street and on Silicon Valley, from what I heard.
It most certainly did. Saagar, thank you very, very much. Very good having you on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're told right now that Joe Biden is poised and ready to go. He's checking with his donors, though, before he makes the leap to be a presidential candidate. And he wants to make sure that he raises the most money up front in the first 24 hours. That's gotten to be sort of like a test of a passage here for candidates right now. The record holder is Beto O'Rourke, of course, who raised better than $6 million in the first 24 hours. Charlie Gasparino has a lot more on this. Charlie?
Neil, remember that Shakespearean